When I was younger, dance was everything. It was my heart, it was my soul. It was just where I belonged, and everyone knew me as Melissa the ballerina or Melissa the dancer, and it became my identity, and then my life went in a different direction. I was doing the Nutcracker in 2007, and I was doing the role of the soldier doll. And after the show, I noticed that my leg was really hurting and I couldn't walk. What ended up happening was it wasn't a pulled muscle. And we went to the doctors and they did x-ray after x-ray, just wanting to make sure that it wasn't something. And it turned out to be something. It ended up being Osteosarcoma, which is a bone cancer.
When Melissa was first diagnosed with cancer, she was very young. And I remember finding out about it, and she was telling one of her friends in the car ride home. And I remember getting pulled over from a police officer because I had gone a little too fast and just bursting into tears. It was just the first moment that I really processed that my sister had cancer. And being an older sister, you really want to protect them. And you want to do whatever you can to make sure that your sibling is safe and secure. I remembered feeling so helpless. How can you help your sister through something that is going on inside of her? How can you make it different?
I needed to do 7 months of chemo. Once the 7 months was over, I was able to get back to a pretty normal life. I went back to dance, went back to theater, started performing again. And I found that my identity, what I thought was my identity, came back. I was a dancer again, I was in shows, I was singing, I was a performer. And then I went in for another surgery, just for something completely different than cancer. The scans had looked fine, but I went in for a different surgery and they found that the cancer had come back. And that's when they informed me that my leg wasn't useful anymore. It had wrapped itself around a ligament, so they needed to cut that. And so when they cut it, I wasn't gonna be able to walk, I wasn't gonna be able to do anything. And they told me that if they didn't remove it, then the cancer would come back. And so instead of doing chemo, trying to keep the leg, we decided to amputate the leg, and my identity was gone again.
When we found out that she had the second tumor, it was actually on my birthday. So that was a very shocking thing to come into. And I remember the doctor telling us that she was going to have her leg amputated because there was not going to be any more mobility to it. And I remember sitting with her and us crying and mourning this news together. And then I remember the hope that came in, and the fact that we as a family decided, no, this will not hold us back.
I didn't know what to do. I couldn't see myself on stage anymore or anything like that. But one night I woke up and my dad, sorry. Okay. My dad just told me, he said, you can either allow this to make you or you can allow this to break you. And the way that I took that was I can either allow it to be my identity or I can change my outcome. And I decided from that moment on that no matter the struggles, no matter how hard this was going to be, no matter how painful it was that I was losing my leg, I was not going to allow it to become my identity. When I officially found out about losing my leg, the first thought that went into my head was that I was never going to dance again, that I was never going to wear point shoes again and wear the costumes and perform. It had become so much a part of me that I didn't know how to live without it. And then I had a choreographer contact me, a great friend, and she said, we're gonna get you dancing again. And I'm thinking, I haven't danced in 2 years. I'm not sure if I can get back into it. My life's too busy, too crazy, but the Lord worked it out to where we were able to choreograph this dance to Oceans. And I love the song because it's about trusting and having faith that no matter what, He's got you. No matter if you have one leg, 2 legs, no legs, He has got you in the palm of His hand and He is gonna lead you across that water.
You called me out upon the water, the great unknown, where feet may fail. And there I'll find you in the mystery, in oceans deep. My faith will stand. And I will call upon your name, and I'll keep my eyes above the waves when oceans rise.
So in choreographing this dance for Melissa, my older sister Corey Briggs also did some of it, and Melissa just had such a vision of just her testimony and to just portray that through the movement. And in rehearsals, I think that it might have been a little bit different than we had expected it to be at some moments. I think that there were moments of realizing that there are some things that were harder for her to do. And I think it was a good thing for her to have that moment of realizing it was about her story and the testimony that she wanted to share above everything else. That's the most important thing.
Another thing that is really amazing about Melissa is she is so determined, and she has come so far. She's dancing still, and because she loves it, she couldn't give that up. But she, of course, she gets frustrated in that as well. But she never, ever, ever gives up. And that's just very, very inspiring.
Like, God obviously had a plan for her to be in my life, because I never thought I'd be doing ministry with her. There's something called She Captivates, and it's just so awesome having her as a writer on this team because of everything she's gone through. Women around here around the world can see how she writes and her heart and what she's been through. And I'm sorry, but if she can get through losing her leg, still dancing, getting over certain things in her life, then we can too. And she did it all with Jesus.
Me where my trust is without borders.
So Melissa's story and how she's gone through cancer twice and how she's had her amputation and yet continued to live life has definitely affected me since I've been through it all with her and her family. But one of the biggest ways it changed my life was when my mom was diagnosed with colon cancer in 2013. And I was able to handle it a lot better because I had gone through everything with Melissa. And what really meant a lot to me was shortly after my mom was diagnosed and she started chemotherapy, Melissa came up and to talk with my mom and to sit down and talk about chemotherapy and how it is going through that. And that really meant a lot to me, that she came all the way up just to talk to my mom for 45 minutes.
If I, walked away and I looked back and I took a step back and I looked at our friendship and I looked at her and I just looked at the past several years and with cancer and with her leg and just with everything that she's been through, I would first say God, because the only reason she is a person she is today is because of God. And then the second thing I would say is strength, because she is one of the strongest people I know, if not the strongest. And the third thing I would say is beauty, because the Lord takes broken things and uses them for his work and uses them for good. And even though on her outside shell she might look broken, she's one of the most beautiful people on the inside, and the Lord uses her time and time and time again.
What I really hope you can get out of my story is that nothing is impossible if you just put your mind to it, and your limits are only the limits that you put on yourself. If you can look past that box that you put yourself in, then you will do so many things with your life. I just want to encourage you today that if you're struggling with something, push through and don't let it define you, because God has bigger plans. As a cancer survivor, you get 5 years of remission, which if you make it to that 5 years, it's little to none that the cancer will come back. Here we are at the 5-year mark, September 1st, cancer-free, dancing my little heart out, and just ready to celebrate being released from that label of cancer. My name is Melissa Eadie. I'm a dancer, a cancer survivor, an amputee, a makeup artist. But above all, I'm a child of God.